Hello, friends. My name is 𝐀𝐢𝐫 𝐿 and welcome to Borders and Beyond. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking to Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor. Mr. Kapoor is a retired officer in the Indian Air Force, and today we are going to be talking about a lot of things that are going on as far as the modernization of the Indian Armed Forces, particularly the Indian Air Force is concerned. Jai Hind, Sanjeev sir, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, 𝐀𝐢𝐫. Lovely to be back with you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we are going to start off by honoring our brave pilots, squadron leader Lokendra Singh Sindhu and flight lieutenant Rishi Raj Singh. They were all very, very young officers. So why are we still flying an aircraft which was inducted way back in 1979? It is tragic because the loss of human life is something which is completely unacceptable. क्यों हो रहा है सर? मतलब what is the reason? Why do we keep hearing all these things?
It is a mix of everything. It's not particularly pointing to one kind of a flaw. It is a gap which has cropped up over decades, and a lot of agencies are responsible for this shortfall. I'll leave it at that. Now, coming to the other aspect is to say that the aircrafts are old and that is the reason for crash. I don't agree. Reason: United States Air Force, Royal Air Force, Israeli Air Force are flying aeroplanes which are 50 years old. 50. The 50 years old aircraft took part in this operations in Iran. The RAF is flying aeroplanes which are older. US Air Force. So all the modern air forces are flying, and Indian Air Force is no exception when we are flying aeroplanes which are 40 years old. Yes. What is lacking in these modern aeroplanes is that split-second reaction time, which is very crucial in the air, because your situational awareness in modern platforms is much higher. It's like driving a modern car. We've all driven. We started with Fiats and Ambassadors, so then came Marutis, and then came this thing. But today, you sit in any modern car, it is akin to an aeroplane. It has a head-up display. It has all the sensors. It is giving you real-time cameras, feed from. So what happens? Basic driving doesn't change. But as a driver in a car, akin to a modern aeroplane, your situational awareness in your vehicle or in the aeroplane is much better in modern aeroplanes. And that is the difference of that split seconds when you can take a decision. Now, these aircrafts are old. Jaguars, we have 6 squadrons. We are left with about 30 odd squadrons, 31 squadrons. Again, an established strength of 42. And the requirement on two-front war is much larger than this. The LCS didn't kick in on time. So with LCS not kicking in on time, for whatsoever reasons, you are now, stuck. On one hand, indigenization has not taken off. The Kaveri engine, which we were to manufacture in-house, has not taken off. We are dependent because only 4 countries are manufacturing aircraft engines globally. So they do not want to part with this. It's extremely, extremely technical to make an fighter engine. So they don't want to part with it. It's like sharing nuclear secrets. So no country wants. So no country wants to hand over the. Next is the machines, the lathes, the test beds, the metallurgy, the chambers in which these things are put and tested, aircraft design, their trials on ground. We have wind tunnels which simulate all these things. Manufacturing an engine requires acres and acres of land wherein all these facilities are available, and then you start developing and manufacturing these engines. So for a common man, why are we not able to make our engines? We don't have, we have to depend at this stage. We did try for LCA to manufacture Kaveri engine, but it didn't succeed in the reheat portion. So we had to import aeroplanes. So answering a specific question is, one, Jaguars are not, it's not unsafe. All aeroplanes which are given to any pilot for flying in Air Force are certified, checked by engineers, signed by technicians, and then only pilots. So all aircrafts which any pilot takes for flying are fully serviceable. Jaguars bring on table the low-level strike capability which is needed And this was the exercise which was happening. And numbers have their own advantage. Capability and capacity has its own challenges. And securing Indian airspace is the responsibility of IAF. And that is given by the Union War Book. So we have to train and fight with what we have. Matlab, you may aim, I should have that, I should have, I should have, SpaceX in my house, I should have dish which can connect me, but you don't have. So when you have a Jio Fiber or a Airtel thing in your house, that is what best you have. So if there is any, thing you have to work on, that is the best you have. So that's how we are today. We are aspiring to upgrade. If you recall your views, in last 2.5 decades, we have just added this 36 Rafales. There is absolutely no new induction in Indian Air Force. Absolutely no new induction. And this is the need of the hour to get newer and better aeroplanes.
And the Air Chief's comments about 2.5, 3 weeks back, where he said, Vachan, we keep getting promises कि हमारे को aircraft मिलेंगे और पर aircrafts कभी आते नहीं हैं.
हमारा ना.
So where are we lacking as far as the engine technology is concerned? Is it the manpower knowledge, or is it not just the manpower knowledge? It is the political will, or where are we lacking as far as the engine technology is concerned? And space is not a problem. 100 acre, 1000 acre is not a difficult.
I was not the space. It was just an example to tell you that how cumbersome is to manufacture engines. I told you, it is not one particular person's problem. It is a cumulative problem. It's a national problem. We don't have strategic thinking. People who are in decision making have never worn uniform. They have nobody with them who has been associated with uniform. They have in Ministry of Defense, in Department of Defense Production, Department of Defense Acquisition, Department of all those people who, auditors, all those people who sit. And the other day I was speaking at some forum that, hypothetically, the Forge needs a communication system. Say Air Force needs a communication system. So we raise a demand. It moves around, all the file moves, and finally we say we need a communication. So that time 2G is on. By the time the file gets approved, the 3G is launched. Then you go to them, no, we need 3G. Well, no, how can you take 3G? You have already got 2G approved. It will not be possible to give 3G. Then you justify. Again, that whole process begins. Why you need 3G now? So in the meantime, 4G comes. Then the auditors will sit on you. Finally, you are compelled to buy 2G. So we buy 2G equipment, but the world is already on 5G. So this is the difference in our acquisition and processes. But now, lately, in the last 5 to 7 years, a lot of impetus and force has taken place. But the mindsets, the working culture, the big ticket money has to come in. Say, what happens in US? In US, you will find, US just opted for the 6th generation fighter. They gave a tender.
F-47.
3 private companies bid. Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. 3 private companies in US are bidding to manufacture 6th generation fighter. Look at us. We have only one agency, HAL. And the era, I don't know, you must have heard from your parents, where everything was controlled by the government, including modern bread, to booking of MTNL phones, BSNL phones, to Ashoka Hotel, to Center Hotels. Everything was Sarkari. So we had to wait for 5-7 years to get a telephone connection.
Right.
We had to wait years to get a gas connection. So that mindset and that working, in government establishments still prevail.
Right, sir. So I like to understand, particularly when it comes to Operation Sindoor. We saw it is something, and I remember you were also saying that in some other forum, that it will be taught in military journals across the world, how India changed everything. And those 3 nights, 7th, 8th, 9th, and some part of the 10th, how we actually changed the warfare and how we changed the rules of the game. Sir, if you could just help us understand, did we have similar level of technologies when Balakot happened? And now, what do we expect? What is going to happen now in the future? Because Pakistan will do it again. They will never actually.
There is their survival is on that.
Right.
Their survival or their armed forces is on war fighting, because they have to keep this Kashmir issue on. They cannot have peace with India, because the very existence of a common man, their psyche, a common Pakistani. I was speaking to a diplomat the other day. I met him in some function. They were posted in Karachi in the consulate many years ago. So they were invited by a Pakistani family home, courtesy call. So they went for dinner to their friend's house in Pakistan. Two girls. He says one must be 7, 8, the other must have been 4 to 5 years. Two girls of this post came running and he says, who, हिंदी में उर्दू, ये कौन है? तो बोले ये हमारे गेस्ट हैं, ये इंडिया वाले हैं, ये तो काफिर हैं, ये तो अच्छे लोग नहीं हैं, आपने इनको क्यों घर बुलाया? Now a child who is 5 to 7 years old, who can tell an Indian on his face that you are not nice people, why have you come to our house, indicates the indoctrination which happens there. I recall somebody was posted in Pakistan, the basic books like we have ABCD, 𝐀𝐢𝐫 𝐌𝐚𝐫𝐬𝐲, they have a book in which they teach 𝐷, 𝐵, 𝐴, they call it. It's a basic 𝐴. 𝐴 has pictures in front of them. So when it comes to �Z, say put Zalim, so they'll put a Sardar's face there. Then when it comes to Ka se Kaf, they'll put a Kafir's picture. That is the Hindu Pandit. So a child, the books, the history, the narrative, what is taught in the schools, what is conveyed by the media, what is conveyed by the parents, that child grows up to believe that they have only one enemy, and that for all their ills in their country, India is to be blamed. That is the mindset with which every Pakistani grows up. And thereafter, it is very easy. Once the thought is, in their minds, thereafter it is very easy. See, this has happened, so this blast happened, they have got it done. We are not getting water, it is because of them. There is a food shortage, it is because of them. So at the time of crisis or in this thing, it is very easy to connect these brainwashed people. So that is the background. Now coming specifically to your Sindoor question. On the early morning of 7th, when we stuck 9 places. 5 were in Pak-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. 4 were in Pak-occupied Punjab. First time after 71 war, we struck targets in Pakistani Punjab. And that rattled them, because to an average Pakistani Punjabi, they have already conveyed that, you are the most secure people in this world. Nothing, मतलब उर्दू में कहते हैं एक परिंदा भी यहाँ पर नहीं मार सकता.
But Sargodha
So they are made to believe, because everything which the narrative is given, they are made to believe. But when and the Indian armed forces struck precisely the the terrorist targets on the 7th, and we left it at that. We gave the option that if you want to stop, you stop it here. But then obviously the terrorists and the army are intertwined. So they attacked 8th and 9th. They had to show to the people, and then they started pushing in fake narrative that we have destroyed this, 10 of their airfields have gone, we have shot so many aircrafts, we have captured a lady pilot, we have, bombed Adhampur, we have taken out the S-400s, we have targeted Delhi, all the railway lines. We have taken out their power plants, we have hit their, refinery, all that picture they started showing on the television. So brainwashed people, very easy to hold. So they accepted it. But the turning point, in my opinion, came on the 10th early morning, when and first time a preemptive offensive launch was launched. All our campaigns today till
On
now
10th.
have on 10th morning. So when we struck their radars, their air defense equipments, their HQ9s, HQ16s, we took off their F-16 bases, we took out their command and control centers, we took out their drone, we took out their nuclear assembly hangars, we took out runway centers of Rahim Yar Khan and other launch bases. We reached Bolari, we reached Jacoabad, so far interior. They would have never dreamed. And in my opinion, personal opinion, the most strategic strike was on Noor Khan Air Base, Chaklala. Now, why Chaklala? Chaklala is the runway in Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi hosts the general headquarters of the army, and these runways was used during 65 and 71 war. And there's a story about Noor Khan. I must, for your viewers, I always tell stories. So Noor Khan was the chief. So before partition, he was in India, and he was the base commander of Ambala before partition, Noor Khan.
Achha.
So when the partition took place, at that time he asked Flight Lieutenant Latif to come with him to Pakistan, which he refused. And later Latif became air chief in Indian Air Force. And on his name, they have kept the name of the runway. That houses their total command and control centers. That houses their academy, the Pakistan Air Force Academy. And Noor Khan is next to the general headquarters of the army. It is next to Islamabad, and it is very near their Kahuta nuclear reactor.
So Latif and Noor Khan, they were in Ambala before independence.
Yes. Noor Khan was senior. So Noor Khan went to Pakistan. Latif stayed back. So that is the story.
And I think Latif became the 10th Army Chief of
Air Chief.
Air Chief of okay.
So when this happened, then the Pakistanis realized that we have struck where it pains the most, and they offered to us, the DGMO, about cessation of hostilities. So that's how on 10th afternoon they gave a call, and by 10th evening it was called in pause in hostilities. That's how it was.
And sir, was it a tactical mistake of slowly increasing the escalation matrix? Why first go as far as the terrorist base camp is concerned? Why not attack GHQ directly?
There is a difference between a responsible state and an irresponsible nation. The responsible state, you do not want civilian casualties. We do not want to target people who are innocent. We do not want to target people who in no way are connected with this operation. So that is how a responsible nation. So all our wars, be it Kargil, be it 71, be it 65, the Indian Armed Forces typically have not struck any civilian base, no civilian targets. So this is the general. And for that, we may have had incurred losses. Even in Valley, if you say J&K, many a times our soldiers, they merge into the crowd, the terrorists. But if we want, we know amongst 4 or 5, he is one of them. But we don't want to kill because we don't want to kill innocents. So this is where the policy is there. And that's how, if you see all the strikes are precise. You'll see the domes of the buildings just gone. One rocket has gone through and through. There is no, the adjacent buildings are absolutely secure. So this is a policy of our nation, not have collateral damage.
And so the second question that I'd like to ask, particularly related to Operation Sindoor, so we're a country which is spending a decent amount of money when it comes to armed forces. A $60-80 billion budget is a decent amount. I'm not saying it is the best. It should be 100 and 150 plus, but with current conditions, we had to wait 14 days to attack Pakistan. Ideally, our armed
it is. See, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
don't correlate time with. It's like a game of chess. It is the 20th. You take a move, then the other person moves. Then one or two, three options, you may lose some. If you lose something, what will he do next? Then once he moves in, what options do you have? Then you will take it out. If you take it out, he will retaliate. So there are various threshold matrices, and you have to cater for 15th or 20th step. Once you are ready with all this, then only do you launch an offensive. It is not like, one punch and you finish it. No. You have to calibrate that if he takes this as a response, are we ready? If he opens, a Gujarat front, are we ready? If his tanks moved into Rajasthan, are we ready? If he, moves into Siachen side, are we ready? If he wants to escalate at Shakargarh sector or, has artillery engagement, are we ready? So if that should be the scenario, it is all played out in the ops rooms, and we prepare and everything. It's not that we are not ready, but you have to bring the resources and assets as per the requirement, and it takes time.
And sir, Pakistan was primarily using the air defense system which they had taken from China. And China had reverse engineered, I think, S-300 and they created their own HQ-9. Were they really as bad that they could not detect our systems? What was a little bit of technical stuff?
I have covered this in many forums. The issue which I feel, they were taken by surprise on our indigenized and our way in which we integrated our old guns, our equipment with our own DRDO made things. They were never prepared. Be it, with 70 guns, 23 guns, Pichoras, integrating them. Our own engineers, our own integrated it with Akash, with Akash Tir, with ISCCS, and right from Siachen to Sir Creek, we have sensor shooter integration inbuilt with artificial intelligence. So each sensor will picks up, and AI will decide which shooter will take it on. And our old equipment, which they never thought, I think we had fired some thousands of rounds per minute, L-70 guns. So they were sending, their drones, and our army guns were controlled and were firing on them. So this change, they never expected that with our, sensors, our equipment, our S-400s, our BrahMos, our integration of Western weapons on Indian platforms. You see the beauty of our country. We are having Russian equipment also, we are having Western equipment also. But the same weapon is integrated on a Russian equipment also, or a weapon. Another example I'll give you, air-to-air refueling. Now, when we bought IL-78s way back 25 years ago, so we were offered by Russia a pod which could only refuel Russian. But we had Mirages and Jaguars at that time, along with Su-30s. So we, along with the Israelis, we sat down Indian, and we manufactured an air refueling pod which can refuel Su-30 also, Jaguar also, Mirage also. So today Rafale is also refueling from the same pod, and a Su-30 and a MiG-29 is also refueling. This is exactly what I'm saying. The ability to, change as per our requirements, the equipment is what I think so took them by surprise.
So, but don't you think it comes at a price? Just say, for example, in 2019, when the Balakot, we ended up shooting down our own helicopter.
Happens in every conflict. It is called fratricide. It has happened with the best air forces. They in the heat of war, in the heat of conflict, many a decisions and many a warnings and all of us prepare and train that it should not happen. It should never happen. You are putting down your own people, but it happens. One of those, occupational hazards, so as to say. The US Air Force has shot down their own aeroplanes in Afghanistan. The French have shot down. In Gulf War, the Allies have shot down. Russians in Ukraine have shot down their own aeroplanes. The Ukrainians have shot their own aeroplanes. Israelis have shot down their own equipment, drones. And I was just reading a few months ago. It happens. It happens.
So, coming to the recent Israel and Iran war, what are the key learnings? I mean, a lot of times people here are talking about do we need to invest in complicated technology like F-35, which I know India is at this point of time not going for, or maybe look at hypersonic missiles. Because a fighter pilot lena, pehle to fighter jet, then the complicated technology, then training the fighter pilot, and God forbid that fighter pilot gets captured, then it becomes a challenge to get him back, and then the family is involved. Should India invest more in the missile technology, particularly now hypersonic, which just got tested a few days back, or fifth generation and sixth generation aircrafts?
Every weapon, every equipment has its own relevance and need. Just to say this will replace that, that will replace this is good enough. No. Human beings are needed absolutely, in my opinion, for a couple of more decades in an aeroplane, because he brings in loop the versatility he will bring, because in the air he can switch roles in a second. The pilot has a better analysis of the situation, which on ground your sensors and machines may not have. So coming to a specific question, both for Iran and Israel conflict, that is the rising lion, that is what you asked me. So it brings in relevance of precision, use of long range weapons, center of gravities. This conflict has shown us that the air superiority is so essential, because the Israelis in the first few days, on 13th when they began this campaign last month, they took out their Iranian air defense equipment, they took out their radars, and thereafter, at least on the western part of Iran, they had total air superiority. And look at the air power which they have with brazen control of the air. They could fly over Iraq, they could fly over Syria, they could fly. It's not easy. Hundreds and hundreds of aeroplanes in a package take off from Israel, they refuel over Iraq, they refuel over Syria, come and bomb targets in Iran, go back, refuel, and go back to the country, all safe. So this is something new which we have to learn, because to take out, we have to take out targets. Wars are more about effects and less about attrition. I say again, wars are more about effects and less about attrition. What happens is, the rhetoric is that, how many aircraft did you lose? How much this thing? Did anybody ask Chinese how many soldiers did they lose in Galwan? Do in a boxing match you are asked how many punches you got, how many punches you got? In a hockey match, do you say that other team scored these many goals? They will score goals. Obviously, you are playing a game, the other team is also expected. But to take the narrative कि हमारे पे गोल हो गया जी, आई एम पुटिंग इन सिंपली लेमन मैन, जी हमने तो गेम खेलने स्टार्ट किया, उन्होंने हमारे पे गोल कर दिया, आप कुछ कर ही नहीं, बट एंड में मैच कौन जीता उसके बारे में नहीं बताएंगे. तो the selective kind of narrative which the media, certain vested interests, the deep states, because why the West? Because Pakistan is using West equipment. Even Turkey is part of NATO, barring Chinese. Rest is all Western equipment. A Western arms manufacturer or a supplier would never ever want his equipment shot down or brought down by Russian or Indian stuff. He will never want. Because उससे फिर खरीदेगा ही नहीं कोई. वो फिर एक ऐसा नैरेटिव बुनेगा कि ऐसा तो हुआ ही नहीं था, अरे उनके तो बेकार चीजें हैं, हमने तो ये भी तबाह कर दिया. So मैंने, like I told you in the beginning, they believe what the narrative is told. So that narrative, even after Op Sindoor, you go back and watch, they were distributing sweets in Rawalpindi and Sialkot, and as if they have won the war. So that's how it is. One has to be absolutely clear in the mind that what they want.
Sir,
so warfare, the Iranian conflict has many lessons, coming specifically to Ryzen. Air superiority is a must. Air defense is long-range weapons, relevance of precision, war against nuclear bogey. Because we both, Op Sindoor and Op Rising Lion, were under a nuclear kind of a bogey. If that happens, there could be a nuclear strike. If this happens, if these thresholds are so somewhere at the background, Russian-Ukraine war also has an effect, because Russia is to a large extent tied down by its conflict with Ukraine. So that is in a way, helpful, because they could not openly come in support of Iran, or so that is the reason which. So your relation with the other countries at the time of conflict is also a lesson which I think so Op Sindoor and Op Rising Lion has, in my opinion.
My next question to you is, are strategic bombers like B-2 still relevant in 2025? I know they're 40-year-old technology, but still it is the best of best. I know अभी हमारे इंडिया में कुछ challenges हैं as far as the engine manufacturing and other things are concerned. But do you think India should aspire to have something like this 15-20 years from now? Because it is the final statement. B-2 bomber ने जैसे ही undetected from Missouri वो गया ईरान, अटैक करके वापस आया, completely undetected. Do you think after 20 years, when India will be a 10, 15, maybe $20 trillion economy, we might need it? Because हमारे जब आप grow करोगे दुश्मन बढ़ेंगे ही.
हमारे दुश्मन तो बढ़ ही रहे हैं by the day. Nobody in the world is happy with Indian rice. Nobody.
Of course. So that was the reason
Nobody.
that
Because
Pakistan was created in the first place.
So they had anticipated. The big games have people who predict 100 years in advance, 50 years in advance. We are talking of tomorrow. They are talking of next century, and the planning begins now. Now, specifically coming, strategic bombers are like, there's a saying, horses for courses. There are separate horses for separate courses. In my opinion, only 3 countries have strategic bombers: the US, Russia, and China. And today they need them for their geopolitical ambitions. They have to reach far-flung areas and inflict damage by means of military might. We have no such aspirations as of today. Yes, you are right. Maybe after a few years, if we have to go, these operate at uncontested altitudes, uncontested. For that, you need a huge kind of investment in allied systems, which will help in operate these kind of strategic bombers. As of now, for next 15 to 20 years, I think so we have more important priorities, to get things going. We may have strategic bombers at some later stage, but as of now, I think so we will have other options to catch up first before we look at this side.
So tomorrow, if we have to say hello to Turkey, Istanbul, which is I think about 4,500-5,000 kilometers one way. So
we have options of missiles. We have options of other things. So to invest in an aircraft like a B-2 bomber which will have to fly over so many countries. If the target, which you are saying about 4,000 kilometers, 5,000, we will take time, I think, so, to reach them.
Okay. And sir, are you personally satisfied with our missile technology? Are we moving in the right direction? Because hypersonic missile.
We are moving. We are moving. We are in fact much better than many of our countries. See, the Operation Sindoor has showed us the world one thing, that India has arrived as a defense manufacturer. This has again rattled everybody. Nobody expected, and it is the first time that the Chinese armament in weapons are used in any conflict. Never ever before Operation Sindoor have the Chinese weapons been used. So the whole world wants to know if the Chinese have to use these weapons in Taiwan or in South China Bay or next to South Korea or Japan or wherever China is going to a conflict or India against India. So what is the capability of these weapons? How are PL-15s? How are GF-17s? How are J-10s? The world is curious. How have they performed? HQ-9s and other. So my take is that we have done remarkable progress in our missile development and integration. And our scientists and engineers who are working round the clock in integrating our equipment, be it Army, Navy, Air Force, even BrahMos, if you see, it can be launched from all the four verticals, air, land, sea, and underwater. So, to design and integrate, I think so we're doing very well.
But so BrahMos could not be fitted on the Rafale.
It is heavy. It weighs about 2.9 tons. So the hard points and so now the BrahMos which we are designing and manufacturing would be much lighter with same capabilities. It's an ongoing process. It is the weight of the weapon also which matters.
So China is going to give J-35 to Pakistan. वो तो उसने e-commerce sale भी लगा दी है 50% discount की. So let's say Pakistan gets J-35. Are we currently in a position to match it with our current technology that we have in mind? And before that, I like to understand from you. Let's say J-35 gets inducted in Pakistan. How much time does it take for a country to completely integrate it for the fighter pilots to train on it? So how much time do we have?
Many a times the news are released with vested interests. Many a times you say this thing will happen by this date, this agreement would be signed, but it doesn't happen. So one is this factor that how serious are they to part with this technology, because Pakistan is one nation which cannot be trusted, because the American equipment is also there. So the Americans are also, why would the Chinese give the best to Pakistanis, well knowing that they may share it with the Americans or vice versa? Or why would the Americans give the best to Pakistanis, thinking that they may share it with the Chinese? So behind the scene, these kind of pressures do go on. Now let's presume they get. We always work on hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's how the services go. So let's say they get the aeroplanes by December. Their pilots should already be training there if supposed to come in December this year. If the aeroplanes are to arrive as the news was saying, the pilots should already be training there. After it comes, it will take another 6 months to 1 year for them to operationalize in their area. Then I think so by next year sometime, by end, they will be integrated and ready to go. This is widely. Now, as far as coming to us, answer for a fifth generation is typically not a fifth generation. Yes, we need. I'm not saying we don't need. what we can in interim do is we can improve on our 4 and 4.5 generation aeroplanes. We should invest in anti-stealth radars. We should push our AMCA. Now, AMCA, the dates given is 2034, 2035. So this period of 8 to 9 years is a period we should watch out for. In this period, if there's any conflict, if in this period there is any skirmish, we should have about 2 to 3 squadrons. This is my personal take. I have nothing. This is totally not the organizational or the government. This is my personal analysis. We should go and off the shelf buy out 2 to 3 squadrons in G to government deal with Russia. Pick up Su-57s, like we picked up Rafales, and this will give training to our pilots to operate 5th generation fighters. This will give us the newer technology. The things which we learn by operating 5th generation can be put to use in developing our own AMCA, which the DRDO is manufacturing. The DRDO people can integrate with these squadrons to learn more and more, so that AMCA can be better refined. And so one, our crew, technicians and engineers will get a hand to work on the 5th generation. Secondly, we have a deterrence against the enemy, both from the northern and the western side. And thirdly, all this information and knowledge will help us for our own AMCA. This is my take.
Okay, so we at least have 8 to 10 years, hoping that the timelines are met.
Yes.
Let's hope for the best, sir. Sir, on that note, thank you so much for talking to me on Borders and Beyond. It was really, really nice speaking to you once again. And viewers, I like to tell you, if you have any specific questions, I like to bounce off to Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, sir. And please follow him on Instagram and also follow him on LinkedIn. And we would love to hear from you again. And once again, sir, thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Chitresh. Thank you.